and the only thing we've been praying for is bread and milk. And he goes, you need milk?
Yep.
And he opens up the cab of his truck, and there's 12 gallons of milk sitting there. We can remember a time where we really walked this out, and we saw God. It made no sense, but we saw him work in miraculous ways.
I had been a pastor on a large church staff, and I had left that role, and I was part of a launch team to help launch a Christian ministry in our community, a counseling ministry in our community. And so I joined that staff, and we were building, and after I joined the staff, I realized that, or I had learned that one man wrote the checks for salaries and for facilities, and that caused me concern because I was thinking, gosh, something could happen to this man's income or this man's ability to write a check. And it wasn't too long after that, something happened to this guy's ability to write us a check. He went out and bought a bank, go figure, like we all do that. Well, so he buys this bank, and it held captive his money for 3 months. And so they met with me and they said, Mark, we don't want you to leave the staff, but we can't pay you for 3 months. We can at the end of 3 months. We'll back pay you. If you need to get a job, we understand that, but we'd love for you to stay. So why don't you talk to Jill and determine what you want to do?
So Mark came home, and we started praying about it. They gave us a few days to make a decision, and we started praying about it, and both of us felt like it didn't make any sense, but we were just supposed to stay. And so I kind of went to work doing kind of what we could do. So I paid the bills, and so I start calling some of the places that we owe money to every month, and can we reduce this payment just for 3 months, and then we'll go back up. And I explained it and made some adjustments. I went through the pantry and the deep freeze, everything in the house that was food, and I wrote everything down. And Mark came home that day from work, and I said, I announced to him and the kids, all right, now I want you to know, we were Dave Ramsey flunkies, okay? We did not have 3 months worth of income in the bank. So we probably had $500 in the bank. It was a ridiculously low amount of money because Mark had made this work transition, and we'd used some of our emergency fund for that. So we did not have it. So we this was scary. I was teaching piano and voice lessons, so we had a little bit of income coming in, but it was really scary. So I said to them, all right, I think if we actually have enough food in the house, if you all will not question what you're eating, because it will be creative. The only thing we won't have is money to go to the grocery store to just get bread and milk. Like, that's all we need is just, bread and milk. I mean, we even have enough fruits and vegetables frozen, we'll be fine, but we need bread and milk. So that's what we need to pray for. And so every night we'd sit around the table and we'd pray, Lord, we thank you so much for this creative food sitting in front of us, and we ask for bread and milk. Now, sometimes when we start praying, we imagine how God's going to answer the prayer, right? We imagine, or maybe even we tell God how he's going to answer the prayer. And I was kind of doing that. I was like, well, Lord, occasionally people ask me to play or sing at their wedding, and they pay me $50 or $100, and so then I can go to the grocery store. That's what's going to happen. Or Mark laid carpet. He had done that before he was in ministry, and so he had all these carpet tools, and people would say, hey, will you put a bedroom of carpet in? And they pay him $100. That's how it's going to happen. And I'm sure God laughed. Because oftentimes what happens is we keep looking for the answer to be here,
and God's over here going, hey, I got your blessing over here. Hey, you're missing
You're not answering my prayer.
It's over here.
You're not answering my
over
prayer.
Here.
It looks
Turn
like
around.
this over here. How often do we do that?
Are we the only ones who do that? No.
And so anyway, we were probably 3 weeks into this journey, and I'm home alone. Mark's at work, kids are at school, and I get a phone call, and it's our neighbor. Our neighbor, now you have to understand, we live in the country. Our neighbor has a 1/4 mile lane. We don't see him very often. He farms the fields around our house. We wave when he goes by in his tractor. That's about the extent of our relationship. And so it was odd that he was calling me. And I see that it's Orville, and I pick it up, and he's like, hey, Jill, hey, this is Orville. Hey, I got a question for you. Now, Orville is a straight shooter, so he just jumps right in. I got a question for you. I said, oh, okay. He says, hey, you guys need any bread? Yeah, actually, Orville, we do need bread. Yeah, okay, well, I got some. I'm going to bring it over. Okay. I hang up the phone, and 10 minutes later, he pulls in the driveway. I'm watching him kind of come down our long driveway, and I'm looking out, and I'm like, what is in his truck? And as he gets closer to the house, I realize the pickup truck is piled with bread in the back. It's heaping with bread. I go out, and I'm like, Orville, excuse me, did you rob a bread store or what? Like, I don't even understand this. He goes, oh, no. He says, oh, I got a contract with the grocery stores here in town. Some of the grocery stores, I pick up their bread that's expired because they can't sell it anymore. So I pick it up and I bring it home and I feed it to my cows. But most of it's still pretty good. You can throw it in your freezer. So Betty and I, we always go through it. We take what we need. And today I was driving and I was like, hey, them savages, they have a whole bunch of kids. I bet they could use some bread today. And I'm like, Orville, do you know what's going on in our life? I'm thinking, there's no way he knows what's going on in our life. We don't run in the same circles. We've told very few people. And he goes, what are you talking about? And I said, well, Mark's not getting paid for 3 months, and the only thing we've been praying for is bread and milk. And he goes, you need milk?
Yep.
And he opens up the cab of his truck, and there's 12 gallons of milk sitting there. And he says, now, my cows, they don't drink the milk, but my contract requires that I have to remove it. Now, Betty and I, we usually put a gallon in the fridge, and hey, it's still good for, even past its date, it's fine. And he says, but you could freeze this. And by this time, I'm just bawling. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, don't get sappy on me. Mm-hmm. He says, I'm going to take this milk in the house and put it on your counter, and you just go back there in the truck, and you just get whatever bread you need. And I literally climbed in the truck, and I was walking on the bread that God provided. I mean, there was there were donuts, there was English muffins, there was
rainbow bread.
Rainbow bread. I didn't even know rainbow bread existed. There was every kind, and there was expensive brand breads. I mean, we were buying Aldi bread for 49 cents. Yep. This was the Brownberry good stuff, And I was just like, Lord, we had bread and milk for 3 months. And God provided it in ways only He could. You see, sometimes when God's in the driver's seat, when Jesus is in the driver's seat, He asks us to do things that make no sense. But that's because He has resources that are beyond our comprehension.
Right.